Okay, let's talk about pizza. I mean, who doesn't love a good slicer,
Yes,
right?
absolutely. But we're going beyond just eating it today.
Right. We're
Yeah,
diving into the serious side, making lots of pizza. Fast, consistent, profitable pizza.
exactly. If you're running a busy kitchen, maybe a pizzeria that's slammed, or a food truck people line up for, or even a bigger industrial setup.
You know the headaches, slow cooking times, pizzas coming out different each time, struggling during that dinner rush.
Oh, yeah. And then there's maintenance worries, keeping things clean, meeting all those, standards. It's a lot.
It really is. So today we're doing a deep dive into the absolute core of that whole operation, the commercial pizza oven.
And we've got quite a bit to work with here. We've pulled together a whole stack of sources.
Yeah, what do we got?
We're looking at industry articles comparing different ovens, manufacturer specs, guides on how to choose equipment, even some cost info specifically for food truck folks.
Hmm.
So the mission here is really to unpack all this, sort of cut through the marketing speak and pull out the key insights. We want to help you understand the options, especially how the right oven can tackle those specific pain points: volume, consistency, efficiency.
So we're looking at manufacturer sites, industry guides, cost breakdowns, a pretty wide range of info.
That's the plan. Give a full picture.
Good, because what really comes through in this material is that picking an oven, it's not just buying another appliance.
No, definitely not. It's often the most critical investment, especially if you're just starting out or trying to scale up.
The sources really stress that it has to match your volume, your budget, your actual kitchen space.
And even the style of pizza you're aiming for. Get it right, and you can handle that rush. Get it wrong, and well.
Yeah, you get overwhelmed. So let's really dig into those specific pain points first. Understanding the problem helps find the solution, right?
Absolutely. So things like pizza's just taking too long. That creates bottlenecks, unhappy customers.
And inconsistency. You want that 10th pizza to be just as good as the first. How do you guarantee that?
Exactly. Then there's the raw challenge of production volume during peak hours. Can you actually make enough?
Plus the hidden stuff, like complicated maintenance taking up time and money.
And the big one? Meeting all those health and hygiene rules, that's non-negotiable. These are the things that impact your bottom line and your reputation.
Okay, so our sources talk about different types of ovens designed to tackle these issues. What are the main players?
Well, the main categories that come up are brick ovens, deck ovens, convection ovens, conveyor ovens, and sometimes smaller countertop units too.
And they all work differently, tackling those problems in different ways.
Precisely. Understanding the mechanics helps you see the trade-offs.
All right, let's break down a few. How do they stack up against those challenges based on what we've read? Let's start with, say, brick ovens. They have that reputation, right?
They really do. The sources often call them the gold standard for that, authentic artisan, maybe Neapolitan style pizza. That char, that smoky flavor.
And they cook fast.
Incredibly fast. We're talking maybe 2 to 5 minutes per pizza. That's due to the intense heat radiating off the dome and floor.
Wow, 2 minutes. But there's always a catch, isn't there?
There is. The sources point out the preheat time is pretty significant, like
Yeah.
45 minutes to a full hour to get it up to temperature.
Okay, so you need to plan ahead.
Definitely. And they require real skill. The operator needs to know how to manage the fire, rotate the pizzas just right. It's an art.
What about volume? Fast cooking sounds like high volume.
Potential for high volume, yes. Maybe around 80 pizzas an hour, according to one source. But that's limited by the oven size and how many pizzas one skilled person can realistically manage at once.
And cost. And upkeep.
Costs can vary a lot, especially if it's custom built.
Yeah.
And yeah, they need regular maintenance to keep them working well long term. Think cleaning out ash, checking for cracks.
So super fast cooking, amazing flavor potential, but requires time, skill, space, and care. Okay. What about deck ovens? Hear a lot about those too.
Deck ovens are very common. The sources highlight them for getting a really nice crispy crust. They use heat radiating from the top and also conduction hit from the hot surface the pizza sits on.
How do they compare on speed and preheat?
A bit slower than brick. Cook times are usually more like 6 to 8 minutes. Preheat time is also pretty long, maybe around an hour, similar to brick in that sense.
Skill level. Easier than brick.
Generally, yes. The sources rate it medium skill. You still need to watch the pizzas, maybe rotate them, but it's less demanding than managing a live fire.
And volume. Can you stack them?
Volume is decent, maybe 50 pizzas per deck per hour. And yes, a big advantage is stackability. You can add decks vertically to boost output without using more floor space.
But you still need staff watching each deck, right? And does opening the door slow things down?
Exactly. You need people managing each level. And yeah, opening the door lets heat escape, so the deck needs time to recover its temperature, which can impact your throughput during a really busy period.
Maintenance-wise.
Pretty good, generally. Sources say they're durable, not too many moving parts, so maintenance is often simpler.
Okay, so good crust, stackable, easier to use than brick. But slower cooking and heat recovery can be issues. Then there's convection ovens. Like a home oven, but bigger.
Kind of, yeah. They use fans to circulate hot air. The sources say this leads to quick, even cooking maybe 5 to 6 minutes per pizza.
Faster preheat.
Much faster, usually around 15 to 20 minutes. That's a plus.
But the volume.
That's the trade-off. It's lower. Estimated around 40 pizzas per chamber per hour. And they're very low skill to operate. Put the pizza in, set the timer.
So who are these best for?
The sources suggest they're often better for places where pizza isn't the main event, or maybe where space is really tight. They tend to be the least expensive option up front, but they just don't have the high throughput for a dedicated pizza place.
Got it. Okay, so we've got brick, deck, convection, each with pros and cons. But if the absolute priorities are speed, massive volume, and guaranteed consistency, pizza after pizza.
Then the sources really start pointing towards one specific type, the conveyor oven.
Ah, yes. The automated approach. This is where it gets really interesting for those high-volume businesses we talked about, isn't it?
Absolutely. The sources describe them almost like a continuous production line for pizza. You put the raw pizza on a moving belt at one end.
And it just travels through the oven automatically.
Exactly. It gets pulled through a heated chamber at a perfectly controlled speed and temperature, then comes out cooked on the other side.
Okay, that sounds like it directly tackles some of those big pain points we mentioned earlier.
It really does. Let's break it down. First, speed and volume. These things are built for rapid cooking. Cook times are fast, sources mention like 4 to 5 minutes.
4 to 5 minutes consistently.
Consistently. And the volume is high. Estimates we saw range from 75 up to 100 pizzas per hour per deck. One source even specified up to 90 per hour for a particular model.
Wow. And because it's continuous?
Right. There's no stopping to load or unload batches, no waiting for the oven to recover heat. The belt just keeps moving. Your only limit is basically how fast your team can prep the pizzas and get them on the belt.
That sounds like it solves the peak hour bottleneck problem dead on.
It really seems designed for that. Which leads straight into the next point, consistency.
Because everything is automated.
Precisely. The belt speed is set. The temperature is set. Every single pizza takes the exact same journey through the heat. So whether it uses forced air convection or radiant heat, as the sources describe, the result is standardized.
Meaning, the first pizza and the 100th pizza should look and taste pretty much identical.
That's the idea. It takes a lot of the human variability out of the cooking process.
Okay, and what about using them? Is it complicated?
That's the third major benefit highlighted, ease of use and labor. Because it's automated, staff aren't constantly bending over a hot oven, checking pizzas, rotating them.
They just load it and unload it.
Pretty much. The oven does the actual cooking work. This means training is minimal, the sources rate the skill level needed as low to medium.
Which frees up your experienced staff for prep or other things.
Exactly. They can focus on making more pizzas, managing orders, quality control on the way in, rather than babysitting the oven itself.
So looking at the source material, especially through that lens of solving the big issues for high-volume places, speed bottlenecks, inconsistent results, labor challenges, conveyor ovens, really seem engineered for that specific job.
Yeah, they appear built for productivity, consistency, getting high output while keeping the quality steady, even when you're slammed. One source actually says they're designed to boost output while maintaining quality.
But cooking is only part of the story in a commercial kitchen, right? Especially if you're thinking about a food truck or expanding. There are practical things, too.
Oh, absolutely. It's not just about the bake. Our sources definitely bring up other critical factors. How easy is it to install? Is there good technical support if something goes wrong? Does it meet hygiene codes? Are there flexible ways to get the equipment?
These are huge operational concerns. Let's use TecnoPizza as an example, since our sources mention them specializing in these conveyor ovens and give some specifics. How do they address these practical needs?
Well, looking at the TecnoPizza materials, they seem to hit several of these points. For flexibility, a big one is offering both gas and electric models.
Which is crucial because not everyone has the same utility hookups.
Exactly. A food truck might rely on propane, while a restaurant might have robust electric or natural gas. You need options.
Makes sense. What about getting it set up and keeping it running? Installation and support.
The sources mention easy installation, which is always good, and critically, nationwide technical support. If your main oven goes down Friday night,
That's a disaster.
total disaster. So having reliable support, and one source even mentioned a specific time frame like support within 72 business hours, that's vital to avoid losing serious money from downtime.
Okay, and the big one for any food business, hygiene standards.
Right. The sources highlight that their equipment has NSF certification.
NSF, National Sanitation Foundation.
That's the one. It's basically an independent seal of approval that the equipment is designed and built to meet strict public health and safety standards. It's safe, it's cleanable. Seeing that NSF mark is a big deal for operators and inspectors. It directly addresses that hygiene compliance pain point.
What about maintenance? Are conveyor belts tricky?
Well, all commercial ovens need regular maintenance to keep them running well and prevent breakdowns. That's a consistent theme in the sources. But conveyor ovens like the ones described are built for heavy use. And interestingly, the TecnoPizza info mentions that preventive maintenance is actually included in their longer rental plans.
Ah, rental plans. That touches on cost and flexibility, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Because these conveyor ovens aren't cheap up front.
No, the sources give a pretty wide range, maybe $5,000 up to $30,000 or more. That's a major capital expense.
Especially for a startup or a food truck operator who's already juggling lots of costs.
Exactly. So the rental option mentioned in the sources is really significant. It allows businesses to get access to this high-performance gear without that huge initial outlay.
Good for temporary needs, too, like a big event.
Perfect for that. Or for testing the waters, seeing if the volume justifies the investment later. One source detailed their rental program with monthly rates for different sizes, even stacked units. It makes high-volume capacity more accessible and scalable.
So when you pull all that together, the way different ovens perform against those core needs of speed, consistency, volume, plus the practical stuff like maintenance, hygiene support, and flexible acquisition like rentals.
Right. Yeah, it really paints a picture. For businesses where maximizing throughput, guaranteeing every pizza is the same, and keeping operations simple are the absolute top priorities, conveyor ovens, particularly with the kind of support and features detailed for brands like TecnoPizza, seem like a very targeted solution.
It makes sense. They're engineered, as one source said, based on real-world needs of chefs and business owners trying to be profitable.
Exactly. It's about reducing waste, saving time, maximizing that bottom line. Because often, especially for event catering or peak hours, your production volume is the ceiling on your revenue. An oven designed for high output, consistent results, backed by good support, that can genuinely move the needle for a business.
So it's really about operating smarter and faster, not just baking pizza.
That sums it up well. It's about enabling your business to meet demand consistently and profitably.
We've really covered a lot of ground here, looking at how different commercial pizza ovens tackle those common kitchen nightmares like slow cooks, inconsistent results, volume caps, maintenance issues, and hygiene rules.
And we specifically drilled down into how conveyor ovens, based on the features highlighted in our sources, things like that high capacity up to 90 an hour, the built-in consistency, ease of use, that crucial NSF certification, plus practical support and rental options offer compelling answers for places under pressure.
So whether you're running that busy pizzeria, navigating the tight space of a food truck, or managing a large-scale kitchen, it's clear that your oven choice is absolutely fundamental. It's not just about cooking, it's about your whole operational success.
Absolutely. It dictates so much about your efficiency, your ability to serve customers well, and ultimately, your profitability.
And you know, this whole discussion makes you think, if optimizing just one core piece of equipment, like the pizza oven, by choosing something specifically designed for high performance can make such a big difference.
That's an interesting thought.
Right. What other parts of your operation, what other equipment choices, could be similarly transformed by really focusing on solutions engineered for peak performance and efficiency? Something for you to chew on as you look for ways to optimize your own business.